A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Jerry, at Fair Oaks.
Jerry. Everybody out in the quad's talking about it.
Well, what is it, Lee? Why?
Now, wait a minute. Take it easy. Here, you're getting your tie on. You haven't got much time.
Okay.
Well, you were right. You're suspected of loosening the cinch strap on Splendor and causing Warren to fall.
But, Lee, I didn't do it. I wouldn't do a thing like that.
I know, Jerry, but it looks like you did. Now, listen. The reason you're being called into Major Davis's office is for questioning.
All right. I know that. But there must be something else. Why do I have to put on my full-dress uniform?
Well, I found out about that, too. I overheard a couple of upperclassmen talking about it.
Well, why?
Well, because it's a formal questioning to see if there's enough evidence against you to make a case out of it.
A case of it? What do you mean by that?
Well, you might be court-martialed, Jerry.
Court-martialed?
Yes, Jerry.
Well, why should I have to go before a court if I didn't do anything?
Well, maybe you can clear yourself from the questioning and there won't be any court-martial.
Well, it isn't fair, Lee.
Listen to me. You told me yourself that Sergeant Alden asked you if you were out in the stable, and you told me you said yes.
All right, I was out in the stable. Besides, I was in Splendor's stall. I told you that. But I only went out to see him and to give him some sugar. Being there doesn't mean I loosened the saddle.
Here, get into your coat now.
You believe me, don't you, Lee?
Sure I do.
I couldn't do a trick like that.
See here now. If you didn't do it, don't worry. You should be glad there's going to be a questioning. Every little fine point will come up, and you'll most likely be cleared. Your belt's a little to one side. Yeah, that's better. Now take your cap and let's go. You don't want to be late.
Okay, I'm ready.
Smooth your hair down a little before you put your cap on.
Is that better? My hair, is it all right now?
Oh, yes. Okay, Jerry, now, don't talk too loudly on the way over. I don't want any of the fellas to hear us.
Okay.
Now put your head up. Chin out. If you're not guilty, don't give the impression you are. Where's that old fight?
How's this?
Better. That's the way.
Just think, Lee. I just got my dress uniform the other day, and the first time I get a chance to wear it, it's for questioning. And for something I didn't do.
Jerry Dugan, will you stop it now? First thing you know, you'll be feeling sorry for yourself. And when you get that way, it's just too bad.
I've never had anything like this happen before.
Nothing's happened yet, and... well, maybe nothing will. Come on this way. There's a bunch of fellas out there by the fountain. Now, quit worrying now. And remember that old saying about bridges.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. Don't cross your bridges until you come to them.
Right. Remember that. It's a good one.
Lee.
Yes?
You know I didn't loosen that cinch strap.
Yes, I believe you, Jerry.
Then who did?
Well, that's why they're having the hearing.
Don't you think it's possible that the saddle slipped by itself?
Not from what some of the fellas say. I forget who it was, but one of the boys told me the sergeant said there was a mark in the leather where it had always been fastened, and that when he examined it, after Warren fell off Splendor, the buckle was fastened in another notch. He was positive it was tampered with. There just isn't any doubt about it.
But, well, why pick on Warren? Everybody seems to like him.
That is funny. I don't know, there just doesn't seem to be a reason for it. It builds up the case against you, though.
How do you mean?
Well, a person might think you wanted Warren to get hurt so he couldn't ride Splendor, and you'd get to ride him.
Oh, I see. You can't go in with me, huh?
No, I can't. I'll wait for you, though. I'll be right outside the Major's office in the corridor.
Will you?
Sure, I'm not going to let you down. Buck up now.
Oh, I'll be all right.
Sure you will. Remember to keep calm. Think before you answer the questions they ask you. And be just as nice as you can. It'll help a lot. Well, there's the office now. Go ahead. And I'll be out here in the corridor somewhere, and I'll watch for you. Good luck, Jerry.
Thanks, Lee.
Keep your chin up now.
Enter.
Cadet Dugan reporting, sir.
Stand over there, Dugan.
Yes, sir.
You said Captain Gardner went back into his classroom. Is that right, Major Metcalf?
Yes, sir. He was in there just a few minutes ago.
Hello. Captain Gardner, Major Davis. You can come in now. Cadet Dugan is here. Right. Enter.
Major Davis, Metcalf.
Sit down, Sergeant.
Thank you.
Oh, here, take this chair.
Your attention, Dugan.
Yes, sir.
One of the men said Dr. Campbell would call here in your office just as soon as he had a report.
Good. Enter.
Major Davis, Sergeant Alden, Major Metcalf.
Take this chair on my right here, Captain Gardner. Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you, sir.
Now then, Cadet Dugan.
Yes, sir.
It's with profound regret we call this meeting. While it isn't the first time we've had to resort to extreme measures at Fair Oaks, let me assure you it hasn't happened often. Dugan, your attitude, your remarks, and your actions lead both Sergeant Alden and Cadet Major Metcalf to believe it was you who loosened the cinch strap on the horse Splendor, thereby causing one of your teammates, Cadet Paul Warren, to fall from his mount and receive serious injury.
Sir, I think I...
Now, let me finish, please. You may talk in just a minute. Now, during this hearing, we want to learn the truth. We would like very much for you to be able to clear yourself of all guilt in the matter. I'm sure we all agree on that.
Sergeant.
But on the other hand, if you can't, we will have to call a court-martial with Cadet Major Metcalf presiding over the cadet officers. Cadet Major Metcalf, take over now.
Cadet Dugan.
Yes, sir.
Did you or did you not say to me yesterday, if I don't get to ride Splendor, no one else will? Did you say that?
Yes, sir, I did.
That's all. Sergeant Alden?
Cadet Dugan, do you admit that you went out into the stable and back to Splendor's stall this afternoon before the other cadets on the team arrived?
Yes, sir.
That's all.
Captain Gardner?
What's your excuse, Dugan, for going back into the stable without permission?
I went out to see Splendor and to give him some sugar. I didn't think there was anything wrong in that.
Don't you know the stable is out of bounds at all times unless you are engaged in some activity there?
Yes, sir, but I figured I was in activity there. I'm on the team, and I only came out a little before the rest.
Pardon me, Captain Gardner.
Yes, Major Metcalf.
Sergeant Alden, will you repeat the remark you made to me about the saddles for the benefit of Major Davis and Captain Gardner?
I'll be glad to. Cadet Major Metcalf has reference to my remark.
Oh, excuse me, Sergeant, please. Hello? Yes. Oh, yes, Doctor. Mm-hmm. Oh, is that so? Oh, it's too bad. He will, huh?
Getting a report on Warren.
Mm-hmm, yes. Well, yes. All right, Doctor. Thank you. Goodbye. Excuse me, Sergeant. Go ahead now with what you were going to say.
What I told Cadet Major Metcalf was this, that I personally saddled each and every one of the horses, and that no one besides myself and Cadet Dugan were in the stalls prior to the team mounting the horses. I'm sure of that. I'm also sure that the saddle on Splendor was definitely tampered with, the buckle being moved down and loosened one notch, enough to cause the saddle to slip.
Thank you, Sergeant. Now then, that phone call was a report from Dr. Campbell on Paul Warren's condition. I'm sorry to say Paul received a fracture of the right clavicle. He will be laid up without the use of his arm for at least 6 weeks.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's a fractured collarbone.
That's right.
Yes, and that's very serious. Warren might have been killed in a fall like he took. Do you have anything to say now, Dugan?
Yes, sir, I'd like to say something.
Go ahead.
Well, sir, I do admit saying what I said yesterday, but honestly, I didn't mean anything by it. I admit I went out to the stall to see Splendor, too. But really, all I did was feed him a couple of pieces of sugar. I didn't touch the cinch strap. I wouldn't do a thing like that, and especially to Paul Warren. I like him.
Does that mean you might do something of the same nature to someone you disliked?
Oh, no, sir.
Anything more to say, Dugan?
Only that I didn't do it. No matter what I said or what I did, I didn't do it.
Dugan, you're to go directly to your room now and remain there until you receive further orders.
Yes, sir.
Here I am, Jerry. What happened, Jerry? Is it all right?
Let's hurry. I have to go right up to the room and wait there.
Well, then it's not over yet?
I guess not. They all think I did it.
What did they say?
Oh, they asked me if I was out in the stable. I said I was. They asked me, that is, Ted did, if I said I was going to ride Splendor or nobody else would.
Hey, Philip!
Okay, be right with you. Go ahead, Jerry. Wait for me at the fountain.
What do they have to pick on me for? You'd think I was the only one in the world. He used to be my horse. Now they won't even let me feed him a little sugar. What's wrong with that? What'll Mr. Randall say? He'll believe me. But maybe he won't.
Jerry, wait a minute.
What'd they want?
Come on, hurry it up.
What do you mean? I asked you what they wanted. What did those fellows call you over for? Answer me. Please. Come on, this isn't any time to kid.
Okay, there's no one around now.
What are you talking about?
Jerry, all the fellas at school are going to give you the chill.
What does that mean?
Come on, hurry.
What's the chill, Lee?
Wait till we get into the room. Come on, here we are. Listen, Jerry, you're in a bad spot. It'll work out all right, but until it does, the fellas won't talk to you. They'll all turn away from you if you start to talk to them. That's the chill, Jerry. Even I can't talk to you unless we're up here in the room where no one can see me.
Oh, Lee, I don't deserve it. Why should they treat me like that? I didn't do anything.
Oh, Jerry. Yes?
Captain Gardner.
Oh, come in, Captain Gardner. Jerry.
Cadet Dugan?
Yes, sir.
Dugan, you're going to be court-martialed. You'll have to stand trial before a board of cadet officers with Cadet Major Metcalf presiding. You'll receive further instructions later.
Well, they didn't believe me.
greatest story ever told. Tonight we present Sufficient Unto the Day, a drama based on the teaching from the greatest life ever lived. The town of Chorazin in Galilee stands on the flatlands of the Galilean plain. Yet from there one can see in the distance the hills and mountains of North Galilee. And between the town and the hills lies many small farms. Well, one of these modest farms belongs to a man named Raphael, and it's in his home we find him now, looking out intently, thinking.
Raphael.
Shh, my dear.
Raphael, it's already past dawn, and you're still here. The cows are waiting to be pastured, and the sheep should be let out to graze.
That's what I'm thinking about. I don't like the look of it out there.
There was a haze yesterday, and you said there'd be a storm. But there wasn't.
And what did I lose by being careful?
A whole day's work, that's why.
I suppose it would have been better if I'd let the cattle and sheep out and they'd been driven apart and lost in the storm. I suppose that's better, huh?
No.
You can't be too careful, Ruth. I learned my lesson not once, but many times. You never know when something's going to happen. You have to be prepared.
The haze seems to be lifting. Isn't that the sun?
Yes, it seems to be coming out. Maybe it'll be a good day after all. Where's Mara?
Out to the well for water.
When she comes back, have her fill the troughs with water, too. When the cattle return, they're to have enough to drink.
Yes, Raphael. Raphael, don't you think she works too hard? For a girl, I mean.
If the boy were still with us, she wouldn't have had to work so hard. As it is, we must each do our share. She has her work. Let her do it.
Yes, Raphael, I shall tell her as soon as she returns.
And I'll be in the fields keeping an eye to the livestock and plowing. I shall be back for my meal at dusk.
Yes, Raphael.
Mind you, Mara's to fill those troughs.
Mara, dear, you should rest now.
Mother, I didn't hear you come out of the house.
I've been watching from the doorway. You're working too hard. This is man's work.
Only 9 or 10 more buckets of water and I'll have the troughs filled.
Then do it after you've had your midday meal.
No, I can't stop now. I promised Jonathan he could come here this afternoon, that we could talk a while.
I think it'll be a better life for you when you two are married, my dear.
I hope so.
Jonathan seems like such a fine young man. So pleasant, and yet with good sense to him. I'm glad he's the one.
Mother, he'll be asking again today. What can I tell him?
I don't know. I talked to your father last night. He didn't seem quite ready to give his consent.
But why?
You know your father. Always worrying. He began to think of all kinds of things that could happen.
None of them good, I suppose.
Oh, you know him as well as I do. He said Jonathan isn't too well off. If there were a drought or a lean year, or if he fell ill, then it would be my burden to feed him and our daughter. That's the way he talked.
Has he always been like that?
When I first knew him, he seemed to be cautious. That was what my father liked about him. But then, after a while, I began to realize he was afraid. Afraid all the time. It's not a good way to live.
To think you've put up with it for so long. I'm sorry for you, Mother.
My life is spent. But yours, it's really just beginning. I hope you have a better life than I. And you will, if only I can convince your father.
Mara!
Oh, that's Jonathan now. Perhaps he'd like to have the midday meal with us. You ask him, Mara.
Yes, Mother, I will. Jonathan, I'm here. By the trough.
Oh, there you are.
You're early, Jonathan.
Yes, I set myself a stint for the day to plow the field behind my house. I was so anxious to see you that I finished quicker than I expected. You see, being in love has its good side, too. It makes a man work harder.
I haven't finished my work yet.
Well, then I'll help you. Together it shouldn't take long.
All right. And then Mother will have the meal prepared. You'll stay and eat with us, won't you, Jonathan?
Of course. Now hand me that leather bucket and I'll show you how a trough should be filled. They say you can see the daughter 20 years hence by looking at the mother today. Well, I'm satisfied with what I say.
Jonathan, where did you learn to flatter that way?
Your fine meal has inspired me. Oh, when I think that Mara will soon be cooking food like this for me, well, What's the matter?
Nothing, Jonathan.
You both seemed so jolly and smiling till I said something about our being married. And the smile went out of your faces. What's wrong?
Jonathan, my father hasn't decided yet.
You mean he's decided, but the answer is no.
Please, Jonathan, don't judge him harshly. He's had his share of trouble in his life. My own name, Mara, it means bitterness. Bitterness because I was born just after my brother died, victim of the plague. My father wanted another son. Instead, it was I. You know how much a son means on a farm.
But is that something to make a man bitter? Is it, Ruth?
He used to say it would be that way. He used to fear it would be a daughter instead of a son. And it was.
But that was so long ago.
I know. He seems only to be aware of two things. The misfortunes of the past and the evil that might come tomorrow.
I know his trouble. He's afraid. He has nothing to believe in or trust.
That's right. But what can we do about it?
We can do a great deal. He'll go with me to hear the master. That's what he'll do.
The master? He cures the sick, makes the lame to walk. And Raphael is neither of those.
Everyone talks of the miracles. Why don't they talk more of the strength and courage he's given men? That's what Raphael needs, I know.
What do I need, young man?
Oh, Raphael,
Raphael, back so soon. You said by dusk. Is there something wrong?
Is there something wrong? People talk about me behind my back. If I had the time, young man, I'd stop to find out what I need. But there is no time. We must leave. We must leave here at once.
Leave? What are you talking about?
This time it won't get any of mine. It won't get me.
What won't get you, Raphael? What won't?
Plague.
Plague? You mean there's plague hereabout? Who told you?
Raphael, the plague. The last time you know what happened.
It won't happen this time. We're leaving here.
But where will we go?
Up into the hills, away from everyone. The evil that brings the plague seems to strike where the most people are. Well, we won't be here when it comes.
Wait, Raphael.
Well?
You said when it comes.
So I did.
Oh, I thought at first there was a plague here in the town, perhaps.
Only a fool would wait for it to strike. We must do something.
Now, Raphael, before you go doing anything rash, tell me what you heard, where you heard it.
I was out in the fields when a lone rider came by. He stopped to ask for a drink. After he drank, we fell to talking. He's a messenger for an official in Tiberias. Part of the news he carries is this. Just to the north of Phoenicia, there's a town that has plague now.
Oh, to the north of Phoenicia? Well, that's so far away it could never reach here.
Couldn't it? The last time, more than 20 years ago, there was plague there. And there was plague here, too, afterward. And my only son was killed by it. Well, I won't wait for that to happen again.
Raphael, I have no right to tell you not to go. But I think I do have a right to ask about Mara.
Right? You have no rights over my daughter. She has only to obey her father. That's the law.
Then you propose to take Mara with you?
As long as she lives under my roof, she is subject to my command.
But you're running before your fear like a ship before the wind.
It's not fear to exercise caution. It's good sense.
Good sense? To be so afraid that you can't think straight? There's no plague here, and yet you'd flee your home and leave your land at planting time.
I am older than you are, Jonathan. I know about all the things that can happen, about dangers, and how to avoid them.
Raphael, would you do something I ask?
What?
Would you come with me to hear the master?
Can that ward off the plague?
Will you go with me to hear the master?
I have no time.
Have you at least time to listen to something I heard the master say?
If it doesn't take too long.
I was there the day he said it. The master had been teaching a long time. Up on the mount he stood. The disciples stood around him listening. The Master talked of having faith in God, His goodness, and of not having fear of what tomorrow will bring. And then he spoke the words I remember best of all.
Take therefore no thought for the morrow, for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof.
There's a good deal for you to think about in that, Raphael. Is there? Don't you understand, Raphael? Doesn't it mean anything to you?
Take no thought for tomorrow. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. Fools talk. Who's going to worry about tomorrow if I don't?
Raphael, please, don't be so hasty.
With the plague on the way, I'm not going to stand here and argue.
You have to understand, Raphael. The Master meant to have some faith in what tomorrow will bring, not to be constantly afraid of it, not to live in fear all your life. Do well what you have to do today, and you'll be better prepared to meet what tomorrow brings.
And that's exactly what I'm doing. If I want my family to be alive tomorrow, we must leave here today.
There's no convincing you, is there?
There is not.
Then, Mara, I must speak to you. Are you going? Are you leaving here, too?
Please, Jonathan.
Are you?
If my father says so, I have no choice.
Well, I'll be waiting for you, Mara, when you come back.
Jonathan.
Goodbye. May God bring all of you back safe.
Jonathan.
Mara, please, don't weep. This isn't the end.
We've no time for weeping now. There's a great deal to do, and we must hurry. You and Mara can begin bringing all the things here.
You think it'll be safe to bury them?
It's as though an enemy was sweeping down. We must carry with us what we can, and all else we must carry. Begin bringing the things from the house.
Yes, Raphael.
And have Mara help.
Let the poor girl be.
You'd think I were trying to harm her instead of keep her safe. There'll be time later to be married. The thing to do now is to make sure you're alive.
About the fields, Raphael. What of them?
Who's going to run off with the fields?
I meant to have planted them, and not stay here to reap.
Better to stay alive and eat less next year than to have food and feed it to mourners at your funeral. Now bring the things out. Everything we're not taking with us. I'll bury them here and leave some rocks for markers, and we'll be free to go. You're sure we left nothing behind?
No, Raphael.
And Mara, did you make sure the fire was out?
Yes, Father.
Then each of you take one of the smaller bundles.
Do you know where we're going, Raphael?
I have the place well in mind. A cave that I found as a lad. We can be protected there, and alone, too. The plague won't find us. Come now. I'll drive the sheep and cattle. You two walk alongside in case any of them stray. Here, Mara, I'll help you get this bundle set on your back.
I won't go.
Mara.
I won't go. I won't leave home and Jonathan just to run away.
You'll do as I say, Mara. I'm your father.
Please, my dear.
Jonathan was right. Because Father's afraid we're rushing away from something that doesn't even exist. And headlong into something we don't know.
We'd still have our son if we were wiser the last time there was a plague.
But there is no plague here. No one's come down with it.
Mara, are you going to desert your father and mother now?
All right.
I'll help you with your bundle. There. And you, Ruth.
Oh.
There. And now we're ready. Let's start. There, you see? You said we couldn't go and we're already on our way. Don't worry. We've enough to eat to keep us till it's safe to return.
Mother, you're crying. No, but you are. To leave your own home like this. To flee as from a marauding enemy. I'm not young anymore, Mara. I don't like to leave my home. Don't worry, Mother. We'll be back. Whenever he thinks it's safe, we'll be back.
Come, you two. No lagging. We must hurry. Hurry. Come, both of you. It's here. And it's just as I remembered the place from my childhood. Come, look at it.
Is this the cave, Rachel?
Yes, Ruth. Why do you look so disappointed?
We're to live here? For weeks?
Months if we have to. It's not so bad. Come in. Look around. There. Is it bad? Safe, snug against all kinds of weather.
Cold. Damp. Dirty.
We'll clean it up, and we'll get a fire started. Once we do that, you'll see it's a good, safe place to be. Mara.
Yes, Father? Is this the place?
You too? You don't like it either?
Should we like it?
If it saves our lives, yes. Now, don't stand around bemoaning your lot in life. There's nothing wrong with the cave that hard work can't fix. Mara, you're to fetch water from the stream we just crossed. Ruth, you're to begin cleaning up this place. We can live here, and more important, we can be safe here. Let there be a plague, let others die, but we'll be safe. Now, let's start working.
How long will we have to stay here?
Stop nagging, Ruth. I have a great deal to worry about without being annoyed by you. You're safe from the rain, aren't you? It's warm in this cave, isn't it?
Not so warm as it used to be at home. One could feel secure against a storm there.
You could get plague there, too.
It's been months. Perhaps it's come and gone by now.
You can't be too sure.
And most of the flour is gone. What will we eat?
We'll kill another lamb.
You can't live only on meat.
You don't starve on it.
Then we won't go back soon.
We'll go back when I think it's safe.
I was thinking about Mara mostly.
You think about Mara. Well, I don't. I have more practical ways of spending my time. I've got more important things to worry about.
My daughter's happiness is important to me.
I'm doing what's best. Besides, now it's time. We should worry about other things.
What other things?
One of the sheep was attacked by a wild beast today. It was carried off.
You didn't tell me.
I didn't want you to worry. But when I see you concern yourself about trivial things, then I feel it's time you knew the truth. Once a wild animal discovers a source of food, it comes back. It might even come back leading a pack of its own kind. All our food is threatened now.
Then we should leave tomorrow.
We'll wait and see. What else can we do now?
Into the cave.
Back to kill more of our cattle, eh? Where's my staff? Wait for this.
Father, he came right into the cave.
Yes, they grow bolder all the time. 3 remaining head of cattle, and still they come back. Well, I beat him off that time.
I was coming back from the stream. I heard Mara cry for help. What happened?
Those beasts, one of them even ventured into the cave this time.
Into the cave? Then we're not safe here ourselves any longer.
No.
First the flour gone, then the barley meal. Now even the animals. Only 3 left. How long can we go on living on that?
you're right, Ruth. To stay on here any longer is too dangerous. We shall go back tomorrow, and let's hope it's safe. Let's hope the plague is over. There is your home, Ruth.
Look at it. Travelers have stopped here. They used this place and left it dirty and uncared for.
Yes. And did you see the fields?
Picked clean.
I don't mind that. At least the corn serves some purpose. But the stalks left to rot there, the whole place overgrown with weeds and grasses.
This used to be such a fine place.
It will again. If we can live long enough to work it.
What do you mean, Father?
Food for the coming year, we have none. We'll have to live on roots and herbs and wild fruit. Well, we must start someplace. I'll build us a fire to keep us warm.
Someone left some twigs. One of the travelers, I guess. I'll help you, Father.
No, you must be tired. I'll do it by myself. You see that your mother rests. The things one must do just to stay alive. Sit here by the hearth, Ruth. I'll have the fire going soon, and I'll brew you a drink from some herbs. Sit here, my dear. Here, Ruth. Drink this. It'll make you feel better.
What's going to happen to us, Rachel?
I don't know. We're alive. We have our health. We'll find some way out of our difficulties.
I hope so.
After all, it's better this way than if one of us had died in the plague.
Yes. At least we're safe. That's something to be thankful for. Isn't it, Mara? I suppose so.
You still hold your bitterness, don't you, child?
I don't know. After all we've been through. Fleeing like criminals. Living in a cave like animals. Coming back home to see our own house despoiled like this. I don't think I can feel anything anymore. I'm just empty. Empty.
Don't ever believe that I didn't do this for your sake, for your mother's sake. A man must protect his own. I wouldn't be a father or a husband if I didn't. Here, child. Drink some. Who's that? Who is it?
Mara, Raphael, this time it is you.
Jonathan. Oh, Jonathan.
My dear, what's happened to you?
Do I look so different to you, Jonathan?
You look as if you've been through a great ordeal. But as long as you're back now...
How did you know?
Every day I kept watching for the smoke from your house. And then there'd be days that I'd see it, and I'd come running here. But I'd find it was some traveler using this as a place to spend the night. This time I almost didn't want to come here. I thought it would be the same as before.
Oh, Jonathan, you don't know how good it is to be back. To see you again.
I waited, Mara. And I would have waited even longer if I had to.
You're very fortunate that you're alive, Jonathan.
There's been a lot of good fortune around here this year, Raphael. You missed the finest harvest of many years.
I know. I could tell from the size of the stalks. But then tell me, how many died of the plague here? Tell me that.
Plague?
Yes.
Raphael, there was no plague.
That's not true. You're only telling me that to revenge yourself because I took Mara away to safety.
Why should I lie? If you don't believe me, ask the others. We had no plague here.
I don't understand it. It seems so certain. The messenger coming down from Phoenicia, he said there was plague.
That's right. There was plague in one city to the north, but it didn't spread. No one had it here. No one.
No one. No one. And I ruined myself to run away from it. Ruined my farm and my home. Made my family live like beasts of the field. All to escape something that never even happened.
Your fear made you do it.
Yes. And the crop I should have harvested is lost. The cattle and sheep killed for food or destroyed by foxes.
We'll get through the year, Rayfield. Don't worry about that. We'll be of the same family now. After all, I couldn't let my wife's parents starve, could I?
To think that I would come to this at my age. I thought I was looking ahead, avoiding trouble, doing the best thing for everyone. Instead, I've ruined myself.
We'll get your farm in order again, Rayfield. I'd have harvested your crop if there'd been time, but there wasn't. And with you fleeing from tomorrow's troubles, you couldn't do the work that was needed to be done today.
But a man has to look to tomorrow.
If you'd only listened before, Rayfield. Of course, a man must look to tomorrow, to prepare, to save, to be ready for tomorrow. All that is good. But to fear tomorrow, to try to escape all the dangers that it might possibly bring, no man can live that way, without failing to do what he should today. It's as the Master said, Rayfield. Do right today, live right today. But don't try to live with tomorrow's troubles today.
Take therefore no thought for the morrow, for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof.
This has been Sufficient Unto the Day, another episode in the greatest story ever told, from the greatest life ever lived.
Jane of St. Erasmus. In the year 1593, in a town in Holland, the priest had finished the services and was preparing to leave the church when he saw a determined-looking woman marching down the aisle toward him. From her stride and set of her jaw, he knew trouble was approaching. So, as was his custom, he met it with a smile and cheerful voice.
Good morning, Madam Sheld. I'm so happy you could attend Holy Mass. Did you find the short sermon on prayer helpful?
Father, I didn't wait until everyone was gone to discuss your sermon, but for another reason.
And what is that?
The banns posted this morning. This marriage to Jane and this man, this Erasmus of Scheinke.
Oh, yes, the banns. I'm glad Jane has decided to marry. She's 28, you know.
You must not marry them.
Well, Madame Shell, do you know of any reason why I shouldn't marry them?
The man's not worthy of her. Jane comes from a distinguished family. She's a model Christian woman, and...
Oh, but Erasmus' family is also distinguished, and he holds a high rank in the Spanish army.
He's vain, overly ambitious, quarrelsome, hot-tempered, and interested only in himself.
Yes, I realize much of what you say is true,
and
but...
to make matters worse, he gambles.
These faults are not insurmountable obstacles to marriage. Perhaps the absence of marriage is somewhat responsible for them. When marriage takes place, a man's attitude usually changes.
Never having married, I couldn't speak with authority on that. But if you believe Jane will reform him, you're mistaken. Didn't you say that a man's attitude changes with marriage?
Yes, of course.
Then a woman's attitude can change, too.
Of course.
Just my point. Instead of him becoming more virtuous, she'll be influenced by his vices. He'll drag her down to his level.
Madam, do you think she'll take up gambling after her marriage?
Well, I won't go so far as to say that, but...
I know her too well. She's devout. She relies on prayer to help her.
Then you'll not forbid this marriage?
I have no grounds, unless you have and can prove them. Otherwise, I'll have to perform the marriage.
After what I've told you? After you admitted most of what I said was true?
You've only told me about his faults, and they're not insurmountable.
But just the same...
After the banns have remained the usual time, if there are no objections, I shall perform the ceremony.
Well, good morning, Father. But mark my words, no good will come of it.
I, Jane, take the Erasmus for my lawful husband, to have and to hold from this day forward.
For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer.
For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer.
In sickness and in health, until death do us part.
In sickness and in health, until death do us part.
I join you together in marriage, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Jane! Jane!
One moment, Erasmus.
Come here, see what I've brought you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Erasmus. I was at prayer.
Good, then I'm sure your prayers were answered. Look!
It's money.
Of course it's money. 110 odd gulden. Fortune was with me tonight. I've come to show you my winnings. Well, what's wrong, my dear? You look as though you disapprove. Oh, come, Jane, a smile.
It's not that you gamble. That's only part of it. But it leads to quarreling. Twice this month I've had to intervene.
Well, that captain is a poor loser, sending his wife to you to plead for his money back.
No, that's not true. I could tell from the way she spoke that her husband would be furious with her for coming.
Well, it's settled. You asked me to return his money, and I did. Well, I'm just as glad. The word got around, and now the captain's not accepted at the gaming table.
But we don't need the money.
Well, we could always use it. Here, this money is for you, Jane. Take it.
All right. I'll use it for the poor. And
I want you to go to the milliner, the finest in town, and have a dress made, too.
A dress? Oh, no, Erasmus, I don't need a dress at this time.
Ah, but you will. Next month, the Duke of Alba is visiting the troops. He'll give a ball, and the officers and their wives will attend.
I have a very suitable dress, almost new.
No, it won't do. I want you to outshine every woman at the ball. I want the Duke to be impressed.
Oh, Erasmus,
Is it so necessary I make an impression?
For me, Jane. It'll help me in my career. I want these Spaniards to know a Dutchman is just as acceptable in high social circles as they are. I heard some of the ladies laughing the other day at the way our women dress.
They're so vain and empty-headed. Always trying to outdo each other in garments.
Jane, I want to get ahead. I want to go to the very top. And I need your help.
I'm trying to help. Haven't I always received your guests and returned parties and dinners?
Yes, my dear. No. I've no complaint. To be sure, you spend a great deal of time in prayer and charity work.
Surely you don't begrudge me that.
No, Jane, not at all. Still, well, you might use some time to better advantage.
What do you wish me to do?
Well, a certain amount of charity is good. It creates goodwill among the poor, but the poor don't have much influence where it counts.
Our Lord said to give to the poor.
Yes, but he also said that the poor are always with us, so you see, my dear, the problem of feeding them is endless.
Perhaps the Lord leaves the poor always with us to remind us of our duty to them and our need for him.
And no more of this. You always best me in a religious discussion. Now, about the ball. You will promise me to appear at your best?
Yes, Erasmus. Oh, it's good to be home. Look, the maid's kindled a fire for us.
Oh, Jane, you were splendid. The Duke of Alba was impressed.
Because he danced with me once?
Because he danced with you at all. That meant that every last officer would have offended him if they didn't ask you for a dance.
Oh, my. All along, I thought it was because of my grace and skill.
The point is, the Duke asked me to join him in a game of cards. And I lost only 50 gulden.
Well, I don't understand. You always like to win.
My dear, one never wins when playing with a superior officer. Yes, I see a promotion when the next list is out. Now, 50 gulden is little to pay, and I'll win it back by morning.
By morning? Oh, Rasmus, you're not going back.
Yes, Jane, we made arrangements to have a game after the Duke retired. That is, those of us who managed to lose to him.
Oh. I was wishing...
What were you wishing?
Not now. I'll tell you someday.
Then I'll go back. They're waiting for me to begin the game. Good night, Jane.
Good night, Erasmus. Dear God, I don't approve of his gambling and his vanity, but I don't want him to change just because I want it. Wouldn't it be better if he would change because he himself comes to realize his faults? He's good. He's remained true to the faith, even though much of Holland has turned from it. But I do pray for your help that his vanity may change to humility, that his ambition may be for your sake and not for his own glory. Help him to see what...
Jane!
Father, what is it?
Is Erasmus here?
Oh, no, Father, he just left.
Oh, I was afraid of that.
Father, what's wrong? You must tell me.
Erasmus was gambling tonight. Captain Gomez lost heavily and accused your husband of cheating.
Well, you must be mistaken. Erasmus told me he was playing with the Duke of Alba and lost to him.
The Duke left the game very early. This happened later. Erasmus struck the captain and challenged him to a duel.
Oh, then we must find him at once.
Well, now, there's only 2 places to go. I'm afraid if I go to one, they may be at the other.
What places?
One is the glade back of the cemetery. The other is that ruin by the river.
I'll go to the ruin. It's closer. You go to the river.
Fool, you're no better with the sword than you are with... Good, lay on. You'll soon tire, and then I'll run you through.
Stop it! Stop it!
Good try, but still a miss. Now I'll show you a Dutchman knows how to use the sword.
Erasmus, stop!
Jane, get back.
I ask you, in the name of God, put down your sword.
Get away, Jane. Don't stand between us. Pick up your sword, Captain.
Why must you kill this man? Why, Erasmus?
He accused me of cheating.
But you didn't cheat, did you?
Of course not. You know that.
I know it. And so does everyone who knows you.
You don't have to kill him to prove it.
Jane, your hand, it's bleeding.
It's not serious. I did it when I grabbed your sword.
A bandage, quick. Here, let me see it. Oh, Jane, you were foolish to step between us. You could have been killed.
Erasmus, I believe I'd rather die than see you kill a man because of a game of cards.
The cut is deep. Come, I'll take you home. One of you men find the doctor.
Erasmus, is something troubling you?
No, nothing.
Your promotion came through today. And yet at supper you sat very quiet.
Let me see your hand. Yes, it healed. But you'll always carry a scar.
It's not noticeable. But tell me, when will you be commissioned?
Well, now that I'm promoted, it's not as important as I thought it would be. Your hands, Jane. They've been lifted many times in prayer for me.
Yes, I do pray for you.
I've never forgotten what you said that night of the duel. That you would rather die than see me kill a man because of a game of cards.
Is that why you've stopped gambling?
Captain Gomez and I will always love you for stopping the duel.
No, Erasmus. Love God. He's the one who helped me.
Jane, I've been thinking. I know what a lot of my friends said, that it was a great mistake for you to marry me.
Oh, my friends were generous with their advice, too.
You have no regrets?
None. At 28, a woman knows her mind and heart.
Well, I know I've often disappointed you. I've not been a comfort to you. But I do want to make amends.
There's nothing you have
Jane,
to do.
Would you think it strange, after what I've just said, if I told you I wanted to leave you for a long time? A year, perhaps?
Me alone? I don't understand.
Well, I would like to go on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land.
Erasmus, you really mean it?
There comes a time for every man, I suppose, when he has to know whether his faith is a part of him, inseparable, or is a sword to be seized in time of danger and then sheathed when the danger is past.
Then go. Go to the Holy Land and walk the way of the cross. Kneel at the place where Jesus was scourged, where he fell, where he was crucified and put in the tomb.
Hey, Jane, you're so happy, and I was wondering how to break the news to you.
I'll miss you, yes, Erasmus. But this is the answer to my prayers, that someday you would seek God. Father, when this impulse, for that's what it was, first came, Erasmus had been gone about 3 months. I put it out of my mind, telling myself it was just a thought.
Yes, I remember.
You told me that I shouldn't even think of entering a convent, that my place was with Erasmus.
And you agreed? Has anything occurred to change your mind?
I've prayed for guidance. And each time I hear a voice distinctly saying, "You shall become a Franciscan. You shall enter a convent."
That sounds more like a prediction than a command to act.
Yes. I've tested myself in every way I know. It's not something I dream. The voice comes when I'm most aware of God, when I'm at prayer. I'm firmly convinced it's a call from God, that it's his will.
But you must wait until Erasmus returns. When do you expect him?
Within a month. Oh, how can I make him understand what's happened to me? What can I do if he refuses?
Unless he gives his permission, you couldn't enter the convent. And if it be God's will you do become a nun, nothing on earth can prevent it.
Jane, what are you talking about? I go on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land knowing how unworthy I am to be your husband. I return with the determination, with God's help, to make up for all the unhappiness I've caused you. And now you want to leave me forever. I don't understand what's come over you. Why you didn't run to meet me when I came down the lane. I held out my arms and you just stood there transfixed.
I was asking myself a question for the last time.
What were you asking yourself?
Am I to be a nun? And at that moment, I knew it was the truth.
But when you did greet me,
I know. I greeted you more as a mother would greet a son.
I rediscovered my faith and learned the true meaning of love between man and woman. Perhaps this discovery came too late. And while I was away, you found you didn't care for me.
In all truth, I've never loved you so much as at this moment.
As I love you. Oh, I know now it was your goodness, your charity, and your prayers that drove me to the Holy Land.
Even as a voice calls me to the convent.
But now that we know the true meaning of love, why must we sacrifice it?
Christianity and sacrifice are inseparable.
Now go to the priest. He'll tell you where your duty lies.
My son, not only have I talked to Jane many times, but I have taken her problem to the Archbishop of Cambrai.
Father, if she had wanted this when I did all those horrible things, I would have consented. But now that she's shown me the way of truth, isn't it right we should be together? Doesn't she have a duty to her husband?
Her first duty, as is yours, is to God.
Then you believe in her call?
I've come to the conclusion that it is real.
I can always refuse my permission.
Yes, but will you?
Father, is it selfish of me to want her always by my side?
You wish Jane to have peace of soul?
Above all else.
Well, then the question is, where can she find it?
Good day, Father.
Erasmus, what's happened? Why are all these trunks here?
Well, I've packed for you. Carriage is waiting.
But why?
To take you to the convent.
Oh, Erasmus, you've consented.
Yes.
Oh, my dear, saintly Erasmus, sit down and listen to me. First, I'll take nothing with me to the convent. And second, I must make arrangements to be admitted.
Oh. Well, surely you know which convent you intend to enter.
Oh, yes, the St. Clair at Philippeville. But I couldn't apply until I had your consent. I'll make application at once. This is as far as your husband can go. You may have a moment to yourselves to say goodbye. You will please be brief.
Oh, Jane. Shall I ever see you again?
It may be a long time.
Jane, the life of a novice is harsh. Promise me, if it's more than you can stand, that you'll leave.
Yes, Erasmus, I can promise that. She's coming. We must say goodbye. God bless you, Erasmus. I pledge you the best of my merits.
Goodbye, Jane. Pray for me. Then all will be well.
You must leave her now. Jane, you will follow me to the Sister of Novices. Jane? Yes, Mother. You realize, of course, that no special consideration can be given you because of your age. That all novices must be treated alike. Yes, of course, Mother. You will go barefoot, as do the others. You will scrub floors, wash clothing, and perform many other lowly duties. I understand, Mother. I tell you this in advance so that you may withdraw your application if you so wish.
No, Mother, I believe I'm here because God wills it.
If so, then his will be done. Now, what name do you wish?
Jane of St. Erasmus.
St. Erasmus. You mean the 4th century saint, also known as St. Elmo, patron of sailors?
No, Mother. I mean Erasmus, my husband.
But he's not a saint.
He released me at great personal sacrifice to himself. His act was saintly. And in appreciation, I would like to be called Jane of St. Erasmus.
So shall the name be entered in the book of novices.
You wish to see me, Mother?
Yes. The novice mistress reports that your conduct is beyond criticism, except in one particular. Frequently you break into tears for no apparent reason. Why is this?
It's something I can't control. Whenever I glance at the picture of Christ at the pillar and the whip falling on him, I'm compelled to tears.
Then I must forbid you to look upon the picture. Whenever you pass it, you may make the sign of the cross, but you will lower your eyes to the floor. Lest you be tempted, remember that obedience is greater than sentiments of devotion.
Yes, Mother.
"19 years after entering the convent, and after a life of perfection, Jane of St. Erasmus lay dying. For several years she was in great pain, and the crucifix was her comfort. And to it she would say a prayer.
What do you wish, my daughter?
Crucifix.
Here.
Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, may this victorious title protect us and preserve us from all evil.
These were her last words. She was making the sign of the cross when she died at the age of 74. In every situation she sought by means of prayer to get help from heaven, and many have followed her example. Jane of St. Erasmus is remembered in this prayer of the Church.
Lord Jesus Christ, who in the Garden of Olives has taught us by word and example to pray in order that we may overcome the dangers of temptation, grant us the grace that we may always be devoted to prayer and may merit its abundant fruits, who livest and reignest forever and ever. Amen.
During the next half hour, the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations have made their facilities available to the National Council of Catholic Men as a public service for the presentation of the Catholic Hour. In today's program, the choir of the Blessed Sacrament Church, New York City, under the direction of Warren A. Foley, will provide the music. And we shall welcome back to the Catholic Hour the Right Reverend Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen, who will give the first of a series of 16 talks under the general title, One Lord, One World. From the works of the great 16th century composer Palestrina, the choir sings the Gloria Patri, Glory be to the Father.
Gloria Patri et Filio. Gloria Patri
Today, the Catholic Hour presents Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen, Associate Professor of Philosophy at the Catholic University of America, Washington, D.C. Monsignor Sheen speaks to us tonight on the subject, Call to Unity. Monsignor Sheen.
Friends, a holy and a peaceful new year under God. I pray for you, one and all. Centuries ago, there rang out over the white-chalked hills of Bethlehem the song of angel voices. Peace on earth to men of goodwill. Men of goodwill. 3 times recently we have heard echoes of that song. One echo comes from Tehran, the other from the President of the United States, and the third from the Church. The Tehran Declaration spoke of the overwhelming masses of the people of the world as men of goodwill. President Roosevelt spoke of them as being the 90%. And the Holy Father spoke of them as comprising the great majority. It may appropriately be asked, if men of goodwill are in the overwhelming majority, why does not goodwill prevail? The answer is, power is dissipated through disunion. Now, conscious of the fact that I have the honor to address not only my fellow Catholics, but Protestants and Jews who do me the favor of listening and praying for me, I shall use this series of broadcasts to cultivate a greater unity of men of goodwill. And to that end, the National Council of Catholic Men is now printing a booklet of mine entitled Friends, which seeks to beget more friendly relations between all classes and races and colors and people on the basis of the charity and love of God. If you write for it now, it will be sent to you free just as soon as it is off the press. And may each of you, too, spend an hour a day in prayer and adoration that goodwill may prevail, for it can come only from God. In this particular broadcast, I limit myself to one specific point, to giving a reason why men of goodwill should unite. Namely, because there is a common enemy. This common enemy has 3 characteristics. It is atheistic, it is alien to our civilization, and it is a repudiation of the Christian tradition. Notice how much it has grown in the last few decades. 25 years ago, for example, atheism was an individual phenomenon. Today, atheism is social. The atheist who once was a curiosity is today a component part of some of the governments of the world. A few decades ago, Christianity's struggles were more in the nature of a civil war. That is to say, religious rivalries and contentions. But they always existed between sects within the great body of Christendom itself. For example, Methodists, Presbyterians, Lutherans and Calvinists, and, in a broader way, Jews, Protestants and Catholics. Today, that simple condition no longer prevails. Christianity is no longer engaged exclusively in a civil war. It is face to face with an invasion, an incursion of totally alien forces who are opposed to all religion and all morality, whether it be Jewish or Christian. Once men quarreled because they wanted God worshipped a certain way. Now they quarrel because they do not want God worshipped at all. The wars of religion of the 17th century have thus become wars against religion in the 20th. And finally, we live in an age of revolution. But there is a vast difference between the revolutions of our times and those of the past. none of the previous revolutions in Christian history ever repudiated the moral law. Certainly our American Revolution did not. But the three major revolutions of our times, the fascist, the Nazi, and the communist, began by repudiating the Christian tradition and the moral law. For the first time in 1900 years, a revolution attempted to seize not political power nor economic wealth, but the very souls of men. If these revolutions did look to the past, it was not to a living and historical past as a man uses his memory, but to a primitive, prehistoric, barbaric past, as a man might trace his ancestry back to the baboon. The fascist revolution, for example, at least in theory and in principle, skipped 1900 years of Christian tradition in Italy, and for the inspiration of its new order, went back to the imperialism of Caesar Augustus. The Nazi Revolution blotted out 1,400 years of its Christian history and went back to the prehistoric Nordics, to Wotan, and to the forest nymphs of the Nibelungen saga. The Communistic Revolution repudiated 1,000 years of Christianity, which was incidentally so deeply rooted in the Russian soul that the Russian word for peasant and the Russian word for Christian were the same. And this revolution gave the Russian people no other ties with the past than those primitive memories of prehistoric cutting and beating symbolized by a hammer and a sickle. This substitution of emotional atavism for spiritual heritage, this amnesia which made men forget the traditions which made them great, has brought us to a day where we fear tomorrow, because we have no yesterdays to light the way, and where we all act like dull tragedians, not knowing what the future holds, because we have forgotten the past. And this universal organized attack upon the moral foundation of society creates a problem. What are men of goodwill going to do about it? They must unite. There must be a common front against a common affront. Our Holy Father calls it a common danger. So it is. It is common to Jews, to Protestants, and to Catholics. It makes no distinction between them. To these evil forces, we are all in the same boat. And so I say, men of goodwill, unite. The crisis today is not religious. It is cultural. The coming of totalitarianism created a new problem, for it divided men not on the basis of their religion, but on the question of whether rights came from God or from the state. The new division which the enemy has forced upon us is God or anti-God. Men of goodwill, Jews and Protestants and Catholics, unite. Unite because the principles which once were taken for granted, because beyond legal controversy or human manipulation, are today challenged. When Thomas Jefferson, for example, wrote the Declaration of Independence, he stated that it was self-evident that man's rights came to us from God, the Creator. When the Catholic hierarchy of the United States paraphrased that statement of Jefferson recently, a backwater press labeled it fascism. The fact is that what was once self-evident to our founding fathers, namely that our rights come to us from God, is not today regarded as self-evident in our country. Hence, unite, men of goodwill. This conflict has moved from the defense of the supernatural to the defense of the human, from the higher levels of Christian doctrine to the lower levels of the natural law. The struggle today does not center around the Trinity or transubstantiation, but around the very minimal moral conditions for preserving even the very vestige of civilization. Imagine a Catholic and a Protestant in a forest, arguing about some problem in religion, for example, papal infallibility, and attempting to settle it by muscular Christianity. They are suddenly attacked by a lion. What will they do? Well, they will interrupt their controversy to do battle against the common enemy. In like manner, the forces at work today are animal, demonic, anti-human. And the human must assert itself against the anti-human. Never before in the history of Christian civilization has the cause of God and man, of Christianity and democracy, been as nearly identical as they are at this very hour. At least faintly, men of goodwill have realized that the defeat of God in every instance is the defeat of man. While the anti-moral forces are united, the state is becoming stronger, more centralized. The spiritual forces are becoming weaker and more decentralized. The Jew protests against the persecution of his people, but he ignores the persecution of Christians. The Christians protest against the persecution of their people, but they ignore the persecution of the Jews. It should be elementary to all of us that where basic rights are concerned, men of goodwill should be united. No man has a right to protest against a persecution unless he condemns it irrespective of where he finds it and irrespective of who is persecuted, whether it be a Jew, a Protestant, or a Catholic. Someday I hope to see a parade in New York in which Jews will carry banners protesting against the persecution of Christians. And they will be accompanied by Christians bearing banners protesting against the persecution of Jews. Persecution is not exclusively anti-Semitic. Persecution is not exclusively anti-Christian. Persecution is anti-human. And think not that this plea that I am making now for a unity of men of goodwill between Jews and Protestants and Catholics is born of an admission of weakness on the part of the Church, or that I think the Church is in danger. There is no danger for the Church. It will last until the consummation of time. For in vain will men look for the death of the undying, or the breaking of the rock against which the gates of hell shall not prevail. The Church has survived Neros and Julians and Domitians and barbarian invasions, and it will live to sing requiems over Hitler and all of his fellow dictators. No, it is not the sanctuary that is in danger. It is civilization. It is not infallibility that may go down. It is personal rights. It is not the Eucharist that may pass away. It is freedom of conscience. It is not divine justice that may evaporate. It is the courts of human justice. It is not that we fear that God may be driven from his throne. It is rather that we fear that men may lose the meaning of home. It is not that this war may never end. It is that peace may never come. For peace will come only to those who give glory to God. Men of goodwill, unite. Jews, Protestants, and Catholics. It is not the Church that is in danger. It is the world. God love you. O Lord Jesus Christ, who in thy mercy heareth the prayers of sinners. Pour forth, we beseech thee, all grace and blessings upon our country and its citizens. We pray in particular for our President, for our Congress, for all who defend us in ships, whether on the seas or in the skies, for all who are suffering the hardships of war. We pray for all who are in peril or in danger. Bring us all after the troubles of this life into the haven of peace, and reunite us all together forever, O dear Lord, in thy glorious heavenly kingdom.
Monsignor Sheen has just delivered an address entitled Call to Unity. Copies of Monsignor Sheen's talk may be obtained by writing to the National Council of Catholic Men, Washington, D.C., or to the station to which you are now listening. The Blessed Sacrament Choir now sings the traditional English Yuletide carol, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. Blessed Sacrament Choir, directed by Warren A. Foley, sings the familiar composition, List to the Lock, by the American composer Clarence Dickinson. In today's program, the choir of the Blessed Sacrament Church, New York City, under the direction of Warren A. Foley, provided the music. And we welcome back to the Catholic Hour the Right Reverend Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen, who gave the first of a series of 16 talks under the general title, One Lord, One World. Copies of Monsignor Sheen's talk may be obtained by writing to the National Council of Catholic Men, Washington, D.C., or to the station to which you are now listening. Next week, Monsignor Sheen will discuss in the Catholic Hour that particular kind of unity that is possible for Jews, Protestants, and Catholics, for men of goodwill. We shall also hear music by the choir of the Church of the Blessed Sacrament, New York City. Your announcer is John Patrick Costello. The National Council of Catholic Men has presented the Catholic Hour through the facilities of the National Broadcasting Company and its independent affiliated stations, which have been made available as a public service and as a contribution to the religious life of America.
This is the hour of St. Francis. Love is a many-splendid thing. There is romantic love, of course, but there is splendor also in the love of parents and children, the love of a man for his country. There is love in marriage and the love of man for God. Yes, love has many faces, but it has only one heart, one quality that sets real love apart from all illusion and pretense. What is this heart? Look at the lives of people around you. Judge for yourself where true love lies. Here is Gloria Jean. She is seated at a desk in her room, busy writing a letter. Now she leans back and reads it half aloud.
Dear Clark Dixon, I read your column, Teens Tell Me, every day in the News Express, and I have all your records back to the first one you ever made. Love is cool and crazy. My problem is this. There's a certain boy in my homeroom at school that I'm in love with, and he won't even notice me. How can I make this boy like me so he'll go steady with me? My friends say I'm pretty. I have wavy brown hair and blue eyes with real long lashes. Please don't tell me this is silly. I know I'm in love because I can't eat or sleep, and I'm failing my history and math, and I get goosebumps all over if he just looks at me. How can I let him know he's the only boy in the world for me? Signed, 13 and desperately in love.
Well, the word love certainly gets a workout from Gloria Jean. And if you talk to her, she'd look at you with big eyes and say, "This must be it. I never felt this way before." And you'd smile, because you know that what Gloria Jean feels is merely a phase in the process of growing up. It's just a spark, pretty, but soon out. Now here's Mrs. Eleanor Monroe. She's walking into the living room where her 17-year-old daughter, Elaine, is picking at the keys of the piano.
Elaine, what's the matter? You feel all right, don't you?
I'm all right.
Oh, Elaine, don't look like a scared rabbit. This is only a school recital.
Mother, you know I can't go out on that stage. I'll just freeze.
Now get that nonsense right out of your mind. You can do it if you want to. Now brace up and get some life in you. I've done everything I could to help you get ahead. I've gone out and worked so you could have the best teachers. This is your chance to be somebody.
I don't want to be somebody. I just want to be myself.
Oh, if I could have had the chance you have.
That's just it. I always feel as if I'm trying to be you. I'm trying to play your music. I can't. I'm not made that way.
Wait until you see the surprise I have for you. It's something for the recital. Now start practicing, Elaine. I'll be back in a second. Look, Elaine.
Oh, Mother.
Isn't this the loveliest dress you ever saw? It cost me 2 weeks' salary, but it's worth it.
Mother, this is just a school recital. Nobody will be wearing a dress like that.
Elaine, you can't go there looking like a little sparrow. That's the trouble with you.
Mother, I try. I do my best. But every time I see all those people, I just freeze. And I know I will. Don't ask me to do it, Mother, please.
After all the years I've worked, I've done everything I could think of to make you happy. And now when I ask one little thing, I'm not starting anything, Elaine. We won't say another word about it. We'll forget about the recital, too. I'll just put this dress away and bury it with the rest of my hopes.
Don't cry. I'm sorry. I know how hard you've worked. If you want it this much, I'll be in the recital. I'll wear the dress.
Mrs. Monroe will swear that she loves her daughter more than anything else in the world, but you shake your head. You know that what she loves is herself. She's using her daughter's life to satisfy her own craving for success. It's amazing how often this form of selfishness masquerades as love. The face is there, but not the heart. Now, here's Thomas Gordon in his office. He's working late again, and Gladys Howard is working late again with him. Somehow the rush job didn't take as long as it was supposed to.
Well, Gladys, I guess that wraps it up. You must be tired. You know, I feel guilty about keeping you overtime so much.
Oh, I've enjoyed it. I'd much rather be here than home alone in that apartment of mine.
So you know what it is to be lonesome, too.
You mean you... Well, I'd better put this stuff away in the files. Oh, my finger.
What's the matter?
Oh, nothing. I just pinched it a little.
Let me see. You know, Gladys, this is the first time I've ever held your hand.
Mr. Gordon, be careful. Suppose somebody...
I'm tired of being careful. I'm tired of worrying about what people think. Gladys, do you realize that I've come to care a great deal for you?
Oh, Mr. Gordon. But your wife...
I've kept up that pretense long enough, too. I don't feel anything when I'm with her. You make me come alive. I can't take my eyes off you. Just having you near makes me feel good.
Oh, Tom. I tried not to get so fond of you. Because I told myself you were just being kind. It couldn't be anything serious.
Is that what you think? Come here. Look, I've had this in my desk for a month, hoping for a moment like this. Here.
What a gorgeous bracelet.
And this is only the beginning. I can't think of living without you.
Oh, Tom, I wanted to be sure.
Here. Now, are you sure?
Yes, Tom. And I know you'll work everything out for us.
You've heard this story before, and you know that it is not a love story. It's the old tale of a man who is untrue to his marriage vows, and of a girl who knows a good thing when she sees it. So far, we haven't seen the face of real love, but maybe we'll find it here. This is the living room of the Peters home just after dinner. That's Ruth Peters on the couch with her mending, and that's her husband Donald in the easy chair. It's been quiet for some time.
Donald, what's the matter?
Huh? Oh, nothing, Ruth. I just feel kind of beat.
You look it. Another meeting today?
Yeah, one of those things.
Where's the company going to build bridges this time?
Out, Ecuador.
And they asked you to go.
Yep, but it's out. No more field work for me.
You told them that?
I certainly did. I told them that 15 years of dragging my family around the universe was enough. Now, they like it here in Riverside, and we're staying.
The company left the door open?
Yes, but I told them not to expect any change.
Donald, when do they want you to leave?
Well, now, what difference does it make?
Well, it'll take time to rent this house.
Ruth, now, look, I promised you last time that we'd settle down, and I meant it. I don't want to go.
Donald, I've been watching you. You haven't been yourself here. Oh, you've tried hard. You wanted me to think you were content, but you belong where there are bridges to build. That's where you were happy, and that's where we'll be happy, too, the boys and I.
You mean that, don't... No, I couldn't put you and the boys through all that again. You should have a home.
No, they won't really mind, and I won't either. We never have. Oh, it's been hard sometimes, but we've always made out, and you know why? Because home is where you are. Now, what's the climate like in Ecuador?
Yes, this is real love. What is the secret that makes it so? Now, here's a taxi driver named George. This is Thursday, his day off. And here he is at the door of a certain hospital. Miss Donovan, the new head nurse, is a bit puzzled.
I'm responsible for these patients. Can't let them go out of here with every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
The name's George.
You say you come every Thursday to take patients out for a ride? Why?
Well, Thursday's the only day I have off.
That's certainly a strange way for a taxi driver to spend his day off.
Could I talk to Miss Parker, ma'am? She knows the score.
Miss Parker was called away for 2 weeks by an emergency in the family.
She didn't leave no word?
No. Suppose this is a little business you've worked up on the side.
Oh, no, ma'am. I don't charge these riders nothing.
Oh, really? What's the angle?
Ma'am, if you've been sitting in a wheelchair maybe 10 years and hadn't got no further from the porch than the front gate, and somebody came and drove you through the park into the ocean and even through traffic downtown, wouldn't it give you a lift? Something to talk about?
Well, yes, I imagine it would.
All right, for instance, take the captain. He sat for nobody knows how long, Miss Parker says, looking at the ground and talking to himself. You know what's wrong with him?
Yes, paralysis of the lower limb.
No, he just needed a snifter of salt air. So I runs him down to the docks. Now he's talking the blue streak to everybody.
Oh, I'm beginning to see. George, how did you get started with this project?
Well, ma'am, I drove a visitor up here one day. And when I saw all of them sitting on the front porch staring at the floor, well, it gave me an idea. So I talked to Miss Parker, and she talked to the head doc, and they thought it was a good idea.
I think it's a magnificent idea. Come in, George. I'll have your riders ready in a few minutes.
This is love. It wears a different face from that of Ruth Peters, but it has the same heart. Are you beginning to understand what makes true love? Now, look at Celia Rogers, 18 years old, pretty, and in a hurry tonight, as she rushes downstairs to join her father and her mother at the dinner table.
Sorry I'm late, but I missed the bus home.
Celia, I do think you could manage to leave that place sooner. When I said you could help with the Little Sisters of the Poor, I didn't mean for you to spend your life there.
Oh, well, we had to move the women into the new annex.
Heavens, are they taking more old people? I thought they didn't have enough help to take care of the ones they have.
Oh, with the high school girls coming, they're doing much better. And somebody has to take care of the old people, Mother. They have no families, no money. Some of them haven't a friend in the world. They just sit alone in an old room someplace, not eating right.
I know all that.
What they really need is more sisters. Mother, Dad, I want to join the Little Sisters.
Celia, you can't mean that.
Mother, I've been thinking about it a long time.
You can't. Albert, did you hear her? Why don't you say something?
Elizabeth, you let her work there.
It was all right for her to help, but I never thought it would go this far.
Well, if we all get old someday, you and I might even end up with the little sisters.
Albert, you mean you'd let Celia go?
I'm thinking of a girl who only last year was restless and unhappy. I'm remembering what one of her teachers told me. She said, Celia will be either very, very good or very much the opposite. When she was young, and I held her up to look at the stars, she reached for the biggest, brightest one. Well, I think she found it. This is the highest form of love, but it is built on the same foundation as that of Ruth Peters and George the taxi driver. You've seen all kinds of love in the lives of these people. Do you know the one thing that makes all the difference between the false and the true? This is the answer: sacrifice. The willingness to sacrifice is the heart of love, and it all comes down to this: human love must mirror the love that God has for us. He so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son for the life of the world. This program, entitled The Truth About Love, has been brought to you by the Hour of St. Francis. For your free copy of this story and of our booklet on the life of St. Francis, the man who loved everybody, write to the Hour of St. Francis in care of the station to which you were listening. This episode of the Hour of St. Francis was written for radio by J.T. Petey. The cast included Peggy Weber, Virginia Gregg, Rhoda Williams, Vic Perrin, and Patrick McGeehan. Music was by Vince Morton. The Truth About Love was produced and directed by Father Hugh Noonan. This program has been brought to you by the Third Order of St. Francis, whose members with St. Francis pray, O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life.
It's smart to mind your manners.
Yes, boys and girls, it's time to mind your manners with Alan Ludden and his panel of typical teenagers. From the studios of WTIC in Hartford, Connecticut, the National Broadcasting Company presents a teenage discussion session for boys and girls from 8 to 18. Adults are invited to sit in on the meeting, too, so gather round, because here he comes, the man who conducts the meeting, that man who makes manners fun, Alan Ludden.
Thank you, Ed Addison. Hello there, boys and girls. We're all set here in the studio with an audience full of eager boys and girls, a batch of real problems that you sent in, and our panel of typical teenagers. So, without any further ado, I'd like to have you meet your panel, and as usual, they will introduce themselves.
Cat Utley, 16 years old, high school senior.
Evan O'Brien, 17 years old, high school senior.
Eileen Barry, 17 years old, high school senior.
Fred Smith, 16 years old, high school senior.
Anita Ager, 15-year-old, high school junior.
And as our authority from the younger set, we have our old friend,
David Dudley, 13 years old, 7th grade.
Well, panel, this past week you heard from a lot of your friends all over the country, and they sent you some very interesting problems. And we're going to send to the 5 boys and girls whose letters were selected for discussion $5 in savings stamps each. And the grand prize winner gets a $25 savings bond. So, let's see what our problems are today. The first letter was chosen for your discussion came from a young man 11 years old who lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And he will receive $5 in savings stamps for submitting it.
I am 11 years old. My friends smoke when they get a chance, and sometimes they drink. I don't do those things, so they get mad at me and won't let me play games with them. I'd like to hear what I should do. Thank you. P.S. They steal, too.
You got any word to help this young man in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Fred Smith?
So we think here on the panel that it's never too early to start building character. In fact, the first time that you start to build your character is the first time that you are tempted to do something wrong.
All right, and so you think that at 11 years old he's plenty able to build character, is that it?
That's right.
Eileen, what's your word?
The good boy doesn't follow the crowd. He sets the standards of his crowd. Individualism is the most important thing.
All right, Emmett?
Well, the fellows in this town must be missing something, and I would like to say to the parents and the adults of the community that here is another need for canteens, and also he should join the Boy Scouts or some church group.
In other words, you should find his friends outside of these boys who are doing wrong, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
David, do you have any word for this boy?
Definitely. As long as he knows he's right, and he's got the common sense to stop such things, and he sticks to his part, he's doing all right.
And you don't think he should worry about being able to play games with these fellas, is that right?
He should feel happy that he's left out.
All right, because they're wrong and he's right and he should be sure of it, huh?
Yes.
All right, Anita, what word do you have for this young man?
Well, I think we could find some friends in outside organizations, and it really is a compliment to be excluded by a group of this kind of boys.
All right, Pat, what's your word on it?
Well, gee, I think the panel has given us some good answers, and I just can't think of anything.
All right, in other words, you're all for everything they've
The
said.
Cub Scouts, the Boy Scouts, Y groups, and canteens.
Imagine Pat not being able to think of something to say. Isn't that...
Well, I can think of something to say. I think it's about time at 11 years old that he starts to be a man.
All right, do you think it's more manly to be right than it is to be wrong in a case like this, Fred?
Definitely.
All right, do you think that a boy who refuses to do such bad things as to smoke and to drink and to steal, certainly at 11 years old, that young man who refuses that sort of thing should sit down and feel very proud of himself and not at all sorry. Is that what your word is?
That's right.
Eileen, what's the last word?
It's only when we're ostracized by those that we like and admire that it really hurts, not by those we don't respect.
Well, that's a good idea. And now we move around to question number 2, which comes to us from a young lady who lives in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. And this is the problem she presents.
Should parents open their children's mail? Is it wrong for a child to write a letter and mail it without the parents reading it first? And why can't children get letters through the mail without having to show them to Mother and Daddy?
All right, there are 3 questions, panel. First of all, should parents open children's mail? Anita Eggers.
Well, no, I think it teaches the children disrespect for the property of other people. And it takes the joy out of receiving letters, too.
All right, you, in other words, think and under no circumstance should a parent open a child's mail.
No.
All right, what are some other points, though, to be considered in this problem, Emmett O'Brien?
Well, disrespect is taught by parents who open the child's mail.
How?
Well, if a parent opens the child's mail, the privacy of the child is hurt, and the children will take this example and do the same. And I'd like to speak to the children that let parents help you in writing your letters, too.
All right, David, what do you want to say?
If the parents are very constructive in the way they build up this boy so that he can write his own letters and have a good background on writing letters, then they're helping him. But if they go ahead and rip open his letters to see what's going on, or before he mails them, look and check every word that he writes, they're giving that boy a bad complex as far as other people's property is concerned.
Good idea, Pat.
Well, he says, why can't children get letters to the mail without having to show them to their mother and father? Well, they can, and I think a good idea would be to have this boy, if he does get a letter...
It's a girl.
Well, a girl. A
boy or a girl?
Too. And if he gets a letter to the mail that the parents don't open, I think it would be a good idea if the fellow took the letter to his parents and said, would you like to read the letter I got today? Then the parents would feel, well, he's not trying or she's not trying to hide anything from me. I'll let, he or she open the letter from now on.
Makes kind of a family fair proposition, all right? What do you think about Eileen?
I'd like to go all overboard with David and have parents say, wouldn't it be better if you wrote it this way? I know even today with thank you notes, I like to have my mother look them over.
You think that they can help you sometimes?
Yes, they can, and sometimes your spelling, I know mine, can be awful at times.
It certainly mine can be right now. What about it, Fred?
Well, when somebody else, for instance, opens your Christmas cards or something like that, it takes the kick right out of getting mail.
All right, then we are definitely on record then as opposing parents to opening children's mail, but we do speak to the children and ask them to get the assistance of their parents in perhaps writing letters so that they can benefit by the parents' experience. But by all means, parents, allow the child the privacy of his own mail, particularly when he's receiving it. All right, next we turn to the department of these weekly meetings that are reserved for problems submitted by our adult listeners. Now, today's problem comes to you, panel, from a senior Girl Scout leader in Noland, Ohio. She writes, why don't teenagers of today take more interest in the scouting program? Is it that the adult leaders do not make it attractive, or are boys and girls of the teenage just not interested in outdoor activities? Does the panel have any suggestions that might help the adult scout leaders plan their programs so that it will attract more boys and girls in their teens? Well, there you are, panel. Can you answer those questions from your friend in Noland, Ohio, and do you have any suggestions that might help her? Fred Smith.
Scouting has an interesting and moving program which all boys and girls should be interested in. I think the main reason that more aren't interested in this program is that they just don't know what it is all about. In short, scouting does not get enough publicity.
I might add that Fred Smith is an Eagle Scout, of whom we're very proud, and you feel then, Fred, that there's a lot to the program that lots of boys and girls don't know about.
Yes, sir.
Well, we'll get back around to that later. Right now, though, let's answer the question, are teenagers interested in outdoor activities as such? Pat Utley.
Well, sure they are. You know, teenagers go skiing or skating or swimming, too, is popular. So it's not that they aren't interested in outdoor stuff. The reason they don't go to these meetings, I think, is because they have other activities in schools to attend where, they conflict with their scout meetings. And that leaders don't have a planned program, a constructive program that these teenagers can get their hands into and really make something out of it.
Anita, do you have anything to say along that line?
Well, I think that if the leaders took more time to plan active films and constructive films for the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts to do, that they'd get more people interested in joining.
All right, do you think they should plan them? What about carrying those plans through, though? They need the help of the teenagers. They need the help of the scouts. What about the teenagers who just don't take an interest in it?
Well, if the program is interesting enough, I think that they'd all join.
All right, Eileen, what's your point?
There's the interior decorating badge, the camera badge, which would be loads of fun, especially in the winter. They could try and make a big display in some store windows showing the pictures they've taken around the town. They'll get publicity, they'll have fun doing it, and they'll enjoy it. And I'd like to say I'd love to live in Noland, Ohio, because around here we just don't have any senior scout leaders.
Well, that's a good plug for senior scout leaders. Emmett, your last word?
In connection with what Eileen said, there is a definite lack of adequate leaders. And I think the teenagers like a great many social functions more than the outdoors. But I think the outdoors teaches you how to live on your own.
All right, we're going to have to wind this up. But as we do, I'd like to say that we would like very much to hear from boys and girls who are interested in scouting. We'd like to hear from leaders who are interested in getting more scouts. You know, as we close this adult discussion period of today's meeting, I'd like to say to all the adult listeners that we are sincerely interested in hearing your ideas for subjects suited to this part of our meeting. If you have a problem that you would like to hear discussed by this panel of typical teenagers, won't you drop us a line and let us know what it is? We appreciate your letters, and they all receive our fullest attention. We have no prizes for the adults, but for all you boys and girls, we do have prizes, and here is your friend Ed Anderson to tell you how you can win them.
Yes, boys and girls, if you have a question about social behavior at home, at school, or at parties, send it in to Mind Your Manners. You may win one of those fine prizes. Each week we award a $25 savings bond to the writer of the best stated and most interesting question. And for the 5 other questions selected for discussion, Mind Your Manners awards $5 in savings stamps. All entries become the property of this program. In case of ties, duplicate prizes will be awarded. The decision of our judges is final. Contest closes at midnight on Wednesday of each week. Entries received after that date will be considered for the following week's contest. So, boys and girls, remember, Mind Your Manners is your show, and we want your problems. Send all entries to this address. Mind Your Manners, Department 4, National Broadcasting Company, Radio City, New York 20, New York. Send your questions in today.
Now let's see who won $5 in savings stamps for sending us our third problem. It came from a girl who graduated from high school last year. And this is the problem she has to present to your panel.
My girlfriend and I have been close friends for 6 years. Lately, she has started behaving in a manner that I think is most unbecoming. Her mother tries to correct her, but she does it all wrong. As a result, the girl just ignores her and goes on her merry way. She does confide in me, however, and often asks me what to do about her fussy mother. I am sorely tempted to tell her to go home and behave herself, but I hesitate to intrude. Do you think I should put my 2 cents worth in, since my friend does discuss her family relations with me? Or should I let her learn the error of her ways the hard way?
All right, Eileen, what do you have to say?
Put your 2 cents in, but good. I think you can give this girl some good advice. You sound like you can, and I think she'll be a lot more ready to take it from you than from her parents.
All right, what about it, Fred, though? What thing do you want to augment Eileen's statement with?
Well, she wouldn't come to this girl if she didn't have faith in her and trust her, and so that I think it would be a good idea if she did try to help this girl out and not drop her like a hot potato because she is doing wrong. She does have a definite obligation in trying to help this girl.
All right, what do you think, Pat?
Well, I think this girl, she sounds like a really swell girl, and I think by her own example, by letting the other girl see how much fun she has coming in on time or doing things that aren't unbecoming, I think the other girl would realize that perhaps the things she's doing are wrong, and she'd follow the other girl's example.
Well, now, what about this girl who won't listen to her mother because of the way her mother says something, the way her mother corrects her? Do you think this girl could help there, Anita Eggers?
Well, I think it could be explained to her that her mother was young once herself, and she's probably gone through the same things. So, well, she knows what she's talking about. And maybe it could be explained to listen to her, even if it does sound sort of silly sometimes.
All right, even if the mother perhaps corrects the girl in an ineffective way, she should be taught and she should be impressed with the idea that it's a good idea to listen, don't you think?
Yes.
You think this friend could do that better perhaps than one of her mother's
I
friends?
think so, yes.
Emmett, what's your word on it?
Well, I think the friend would have more effect on it because teenagers are more likely to accept criticism from other teenagers.
Well, now, you said that twice. That's kind of a good plug for our panel here, but actually I think it does bear up investigation. David, what is your word to this friend who's wondering if she's going to intrude if she tries to correct a friend of hers?
It's definitely her responsibility as a friend.
All right, then our word is by all means to put your 2 cents worth in and help out your friend and try to persuade her that her mother is right after all. And now you know what time it is? It's time to hear from our studio audience. So, how about it, audience? Are you ready for your right-wrong quiz? Fine. Now, Eddie Robbins is going to make 5 statements about manners at parties, and it's up to you to tell us whether those statements are right or wrong. If Ed Anderson selects you to speak up for the audience, you'll get a fine gift. So get on your toes now and tell us whether these statements are right or wrong.
When dressing for a party, a boy should check his nails, his hair, his socks, and his shoes because they are very important items in good party grooming.
Is that statement right or wrong?
Wrong.
Wrong. Young man, what's your name?
Donald Yarthowich.
You don't think that a boy should check his nails, his hair, his socks, and his shoes? You don't think they're important?
I mean, it is right.
It's right. I thought you meant that, Donald. Okay, we'll give you credit for that. Incidentally, what should you check about your nails?
Check if they're clean.
What should you check about your socks?
See if you pull them up.
What about your hair?
To comb it.
What about your shoes?
See if they're tied.
And shine,
And,
don't you think?
yes.
Donald, you're a good boy, and your grooming is going to be excellent. Here's a little gift for you, and thank you a lot.
Anyone who brings along uninvited guests to a party without checking with the host or hostess is very thoughtless and ill-mannered.
Is that right or wrong, audience, young lady?
That is true.
That is true. You should not bring uninvited guests unless you have checked with the hostess. What's your name?
Nancy Cole.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, here's your third one, audience.
If a boy and a girl are going steady and are very deeply in love, it is perfectly all right for them to sit in one corner at a party and swoon over each other.
All right, what about that? Is that right or wrong?
Wrong.
You're so right, that's wrong. You don't think that couples should sit in the corner and swoon over each other. They should get in and join the party, right?
Yes.
What's your name?
Sally Makepeace.
Thank you, Sally. Here's a gift for you, and here's your fourth one, audience.
Boys prefer to dance with a girl who is capable of an interesting conversation, but who does not talk all the time just to hear herself talk.
Now, is that right or wrong? Let's hear from a young man, Eddie.
Wrong.
Wrong? You think a boy likes to dance with a girl who talks all the time, yakety, yakety, yakety like that?
Wrong.
No? You think a boy likes to dance with a girl who talks well but doesn't talk all the time, don't you?
Yes.
So do you think that statement's right or wrong?
Right.
Right. You're so right, I knew you had that right. What's your name?
Jackie Sullivan.
Thank you, Jackie. Here's a gift for you, and here's your fifth one, audience.
Boys who drape themselves on the furniture and put their feet on a coffee table look very casual and at ease at parties, and hostesses always like to invite them again.
Oh, everybody's hand is up. Here's a Cub Scout.
Wrong.
Wrong? You're so right. That's wrong. You don't put your feet up on the table. You don't drape around the furniture. Hostesses don't like that. What's your name?
Robert Veet.
What is it?
Robert Veet.
Thank you, Robert. Here's a gift for you, and you did mighty fine today, audience. It was almost 100%, I'd say, after we'd worked them over a little bit. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you'll all come back to our next meeting. And right now, we move back to the panel. Hear what they have to say in answer to a problem sent in by a 17-year-old young man who lives in Laurel, Mississippi. Here is his problem.
What's all this about a boy having to wear a dress shirt and tie to a teenage party? Some of my friends tell me I am undressed without a tie. Well, girls wear slip-over sweaters and anything they like. So what's wrong with a clean white sports shirt that is starched and ironed with the collar turned out? I'm 17, and I hate to wear ties.
How old are you, Emmett?
I'm 17, and I wear a tie all the time whenever I go out.
You even wears a bow tie, I might add.
You have to start growing up sometime. Why not start now? In later life, you're going to have to wear a tie.
But do you think, Emmett, that it's kind of hard to start wearing it? Was it comfortable when you first started wearing a tie?
Well, it was a little uncomfortable. Many of us don't like to wear them, but we have to do it because, well, convention demands it practically.
All right, now here's David Benton. How old are you, David?
13 years old, and I still believe you're supposed to wear a tie.
All right, David. Incidentally, when were you 13?
Day after Christmas.
A day after Christmas. Well, you've been 13 quite a while.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, incidentally. We failed to observe that birthday on you. You have a tie on right now, David. Is it comfortable?
Certainly.
When did you get used to wearing a tie?
Well, anywhere from 6 to 7.
All right, well, then you didn't have the problem this boy at 17 does. But do you think, David, that a boy at 17 should learn to begin to be comfortable in a tie?
Surely. If he learns now, it'll be much easier later.
All right, and it'd been easier if he'd learned it earlier, wouldn't it? All right, Fred Smith, what's your point?
You shouldn't wear a sports shirt to a party any more than you wear shoulder pads playing baseball.
Oh, all right. That's a very good point. What do you mean by that, though, Fred?
Well, convention naturally calls for shoulder pads in football and not baseball, just as convention calls for a tie at a party.
All right, now, what's the girl's point of view on this, Anita Eggers?
Well, I think if he's going out with a girl that has on bobby socks and a floppy sweater, I think it's all right. But as long as he's going to a party, I think he should wear a tie, and 17 is old enough to learn.
All right, now let's make this one thing clear. An open, clean white shirt folded out at the front starched is very fine, but it is sports dress, isn't it? A boy 17 who's going on a dress-up party with a girl who's dressed up. Girls, don't you think he looks better in a tie?
Yes.
All right, fine. Now we move along to question number 5, and it was sent to your panel by a girl in Flushing, New York. And, of course, she will receive $5 in savings stamps for submitting it, and here is her problem.
I am a girl 9 years old. I have to wear glasses, but I don't like to. At school, my teacher makes me wear them, and I wear them at home when my parents are there. When they're not, of course, I take my glasses off. My girlfriend says I'm deceiving my mother, but I say it's my business, and I don't have to wear them if I don't want to. Don't you agree with me?
David?
The future seen through the glasses at 9 may bring good sight at 20.
Oh, how poetic we are today. When did you work that one out, David? Now, what exactly does it mean?
Well, if you start now and you use your glasses to the best of your ability, your sight will probably be good at 20.
In other words, you should wear them now so that you can perhaps take them off later.
Prepared later.
All right, what do you think about it, Anita?
Well, I'd just like to point out that she isn't deceiving anybody but herself.
Fred?
So she thinks she's doing her parents a big favor by wearing the glasses? She's only doing herself a favor.
What about her teacher? Is she doing her teacher a favor?
No.
Eileen?
And if she can get some plastic glasses, she can paint them with black nail polish, red, blue, yellow, green. I've done it with mine, and they look cute.
Oh, they look cute and loud, don't they?
Yes, they do, and she can start a fad.
All right, Emmett?
It sounds to me as if this girl is worried about how she looks. Well, I know a lot of girls that are very beautiful and they wear glasses.
Now, that girl, now, a word from a man, and after all, Emmett is a 17-year-old with a bow tie on, and he says that girls sometimes are very beautiful in glasses, and so she has no worry there, right? Pat, what's your last word on this subject?
Well, you know something? If you wear them for a year or so now, or however long it is, you're only 9 years old. You'll have those glasses off and have swell eyesight by the time you're 13 or 14, and all the fellas won't even notice. I mean, whether you wear glasses or not, they don't either, because I wear them too, and I don't like to.
And they don't get in your way, huh, shall we say?
Well, they don't get in my way, and no one seems to mind.
All right, fine. And now we come to the high point of our meeting, the grand prize question of the week. Incidentally, we hope the girl in Flushing, New York was listening and that she will start wearing her glasses. But now we're going to go on to the grand prize question of the week. And here is that question that was judged the best stated and the most interesting of all those submitted this week. And for it, Miss Marceline Stoughton in Emporia, Kansas, will receive a $25 savings bond. So, panel, your very best attention now is invited to this grand prize question of the week.
Should a girl with a college education go steady with a boy who never had the chance to finish high school or go to college?
What about that, audience? I'm not audience, but panel, rather. What are you going to say about this question of a college girl going with a boy who has not had a college education? We've talked at great length about the advantages of going to college, but we seem to have neglected those boys and girls who simply cannot go to college. So what about them? What about it, Fred Smith?
Well, this boy, who didn't even have a chance to finish high school, has learned more by self-education than this girl who had the chance to go to college and finished college.
In other words, you think it's possible that he could have learned more. Is that right?
I think he probably did.
All right. And what do you think about it, Eileen?
Look at your top social families in America. Ask them where most of their fathers started out. Some of them didn't even have grammar school.
All right. Anita?
Well, professionally, it might be important to have a college degree, but I think in the personal relations with people, it doesn't make any difference. And if she really likes him, I think she should go with him.
What do you think you should look for in the people you go with, Anita? Should it be how much money he has, what his college education, or whether his father does, or what is it that you really should look for in the boy you're going to go steady with?
His personality.
And what else?
Character.
And his character, all right? What about his manners? That's part of his character, isn't it? All right, Pat, what's your word?
Well, you know something? This letter sounds like downright snobbery to me. And if this girl has gone through college with that attitude, I think she's wasted her whole 4 years. And I much more admire this boy.
You admire the boy who's had to do it himself.
He's gone through the University of Hard Knocks, and I bet when he gets through, he's going to be better than that girl FOB.
All right, well, now, let's don't be quite so hard on this young lady. There's a discussion subject out in Emporia, Kansas, it seems. However, I do think there's a point there, that it is snobbery to look upon the superficial qualifications of a person. Fred?
Is she going to fall in love with a boy or with his education?
Well, that's the point. Emmett?
Well, that University of Hard Knocks sometimes makes a person have more on the ball than a regular college person.
All right, so we do urge, by all means, that professionally you try to go to college. But if you do go to college, consider it your blessing, and don't, for heaven's sakes, extend it to the point of thinking that you are by any means thereby superior. Now, panel, I'd like to talk just a little bit more about this question because it's one that lots of boys and girls are going to face as the spring term begins to end. Now, when you start to think about shall I or shall I not go to college, what actually should be your point of view? What is the reason for going to college, the best one you can think of? Eileen?
Go to college because you want it for some definite reason, because you're going to get something out of it. But remember, when you come out of college, sometimes the person who's worked is ahead of you, And you can't go into an office, or a lot of people in offices and stores think, oh, that college person, she thinks she knows everything.
All right, actually, don't you think a college education increases your potential ability? It doesn't, by just the fact of having a degree, make you in any way superior, right?
Yes, it increases the amount that you can absorb.
All right, I hope we can have some letters on that, because as the spring term approaches, we're going to talk more and more about going to college, why go to college, and how to go to college. And now we open up the answer box to find the answer to those questions that were sent in, but that were not selected for discussion. Today's first question to come from the answer box is...
The question from a boy in Miami, Florida, that was left to the girls last week. It was, why is it that teenage girls are so anxious these days to get serious and tie a boy down to going steady?
Well, as we might have expected, the girls were only too ready to answer our friend in Miami, Florida. We had letters from girls all over the United States, and it seems the girls do not agree that it is always their idea to go steady. As a matter of fact, most of the girls pointed out that it was the boys in their community who seemed most anxious to make a steady arrangement. Some of the answers went on at great length, advising this young man that he should never submit to going steady if he didn't want to. No girl wants a steady boyfriend who is not anxious to go with her and her alone. Going steady should be a mutual agreement, and one that is reached only after the boy and girl have gone together for some time and are sure that they prefer each other's company to all others. There were other letters that argued that it is not a good idea for teenagers to go steady at all, but summing up the answers the girls sent in, I would say that the girls denied completely the responsibility and recommended that our friend in Miami look around some more before he makes such damaging generalizations about our young womanhood.
From a girl in Montreal, Canada. I'm giving a birthday party next week, and since so many of the boys have asked me for my picture, I thought I'd just give one to everybody at the party. Do you think it would be all right?
No, we're sorry, but we don't think it would be a good idea. We suggest that you give your picture only to those friends who seem sincerely anxious to have one. Wholesale handing out of pictures seems a bit egotistical to us.
From a boy in Hartford, Connecticut. Does a fellow have to let his brother see his diary?
No. A personal diary is your private property, and no one should expect to see it. You certainly are not obliged to show it to anyone.
From a girl in Fargo, North Dakota. What about these new short hairstyles for girls? Do the boys go for them? Or would they rather we girls keep our long, soft tresses?
Ah, there it is, boys. That's the question we leave up to our audience. It's the question that only you boys can answer. So let's hear from you fellas. What do you have to say in answer to this question?
Do the boys go for the new short hairstyles? Or would they prefer that the girls keep their hair long?
And that puts the top right back on the answer box. It's almost time to adjourn today's meeting. But before we do, let's hear from our panel one more time.
This is Pat Utley thanking all the boys and girls and the adults who wrote to us this past week. We certainly hope you will continue to be part of our program.
This is David Benton with an invitation to you to join us next week. And bring your friends, won't you?
This is Adam Barry reminding the boys and girls who are not yet teenagers that this is your show, too.
This is Fred Smith with a word to the boys. If you have any kind of problem about how to get along socially, send it in. And maybe these girls will come up with some ideas that might help us all.
This is Anita Ager reminding you to be sure and put your full name and address on your letters.
And this is Emmett O'Brien with our address. Send your cards and letters to Mind Your Manners, Department 4, National Broadcasting Company, Radio City, New York 20, New York.
Well, panel, you did a good job today, and I'm sure I'm speaking for all of our listeners when I congratulate you on your good sense and imagination. We're all looking forward now to next week's meeting, so don't be late, anybody. I'll be calling Mind Your Manners to order at this same time next week. So have a wonderful week, and drop us a note, won't you? This is Alan Ludden saying goodbye now.
Yes, boys and girls, this is your program. If you have a problem about social behavior, either at home, at school, or at parties, send it in to Mind Your Manners. You may win one of the 6 prizes. Remember, the best question wins a $25 savings bond. Mind Your Manners is produced by Fred Wade. This is Ed Anderson reminding you that Alan Ludden will be calling another meeting to order next week at the same time. And you're invited. So we'll see you then. And in the meantime, remember...
It is smart to mind your manners.
Mind Your Manners has come to you from the studios of WTIC in Hartford, Connecticut. And here's word about your wonderful Sunday on NBC. There's Ozzie and Harriet, 9-year-old Norman Fitchett, facing his 3rd contest on Horace Heights' program. Phil Harris and Alice Faye with Fred Allen as guests, then Fred's own show with guest Jack Haley, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. starring in The X-File. There's much more, and it's all yours tomorrow on most of these NBC stations. Remember your wonderful Sunday on NBC. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Shema Yisrael.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its independent affiliated stations make free time available to present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our drama today by Harold Rosenberg is an adaptation of Leonid Andreev's biblical tragedy, Samson in Chains, translated by Herman Bernstein. The modern Russian dramatist retold in his own way the biblical story of the blinded hero of Israel, who pulled down upon himself the temple of his Philistine tormentors. In every generation, poets and thinkers have turned to the Bible in order to find an answer to the pathos of their own day.
Samson in chains, betrayed by Delilah, blinded, the judge of Judea, he whose fabulous strength was as the Spirit of God, had been dragged off to toil at the grindstone in the prison of the Philistines. Crushed, sightless, without hope, the fallen Samson was as a vessel filled with shame and contempt in the dungeon of the enemy.
Out of my way. Eat your food, gnaw your bone, and go to sleep.
It is not easy to sleep, jailer, even when one is worn out with toil. If I could sleep and remember nothing, even a blind man could live.
What does she want? This woman who comes each night and crouches outside to curse at you. She who is known as the blind woman of Judea.
She comes to awaken him who is dead. Samson the hero, judge of Israel. She calls upon that warrior whom armies feared and women loved.
Women loved you.
Even Delilah loved me, though she betrayed me. Was I not handsome and a prince? Did not your heroes tremble before me?
Stop it, Samson. The past is a lie. Go to sleep now.
Dark it is down here.
Smells like a den of lions. What is it, jailer? Just a few steps more, my lord. Here we are.
Remember, jailer, you must not know I too have come. The lady has come to see him alone.
Samson, a visitor has come to you.
I do not want anyone.
Go, jailer. Leave your lantern on the ground. Samson, it is I, Delilah. Have you forgotten my voice, Samson?
I know nothing. I am a blind slave of the Philistines. See? Look at me.
So, this is what you are.
You see?
Samson, my prince, I've come to take you away. Come with me. I shall anoint you with oil and perfumes and attire you in silk. Gold rings will adorn your fingers. Come. Everything shall be as it was.
Be silent. Look at my eyes.
In your memory, you can still see me as I danced before you. They say I have grown more beautiful.
I remember nothing. My brain is seared and empty like my eyes.
I loved you, Samson. I swear by the goddess Ishtar, and your spell is still upon me. Don't you believe me, Samson?
It was your brother who blinded me, and you helped him. You betrayed me, Philistine woman.
My brother deceived me, the accursed one. He swore you were a sorcerer and that we had to kill you. I hate him.
Your eyes were like doves bathing in streams of milk, and he burnt them out. You shall have vengeance, Samson. Your strength will return, and we will destroy him. Do you hear me, my beloved?
I hear.
Come back to me, Samson, to the perfume of my couch. I'm waiting for you. My soul is departed since you left me.
Who is with you here?
It's the jailer, Samson.
There's someone else? Who is he?
No one, I swear.
Evasions are useless, Delilah. Yes, Samson. It is I, Galiel. Delilah, the cursed brother, whose voice you last heard when you saw the light for the last time. It was I who wielded the red-hot iron.
What more do you seek? Have you come to kill me?
No, Samson. It is as Delilah says. We have come to take you away from this wretched place. She loves you. It is perhaps even true that she hates me for blinding you.
Galiel.
That's no matter. Samson, the king of the Philistines, has sent me to you. His heart has grown soft. He wishes you no further harm.
I am blind.
Yes. A great misfortune. It has often seemed to me that we made a serious blunder there. But I am sure you understand how such things happen. You are wise as ever, Judge of Israel. We were all wrong. Terribly wrong. We treated you as an enemy, and you were really our friend. I have heard the Judeans are cursing you, calling you traitor, threatening to kill you. Is that true?
I'm going, Galiel.
Yes. Let us both go. You will come to us, Samson. You know we always loved you, except for that regrettable moment, and then, as you understand, we were but defending ourselves against the terror with which you filled us.
Farewell.
Farewell. I shall come and talk with you again. We are anxious to make amends. You could have much gold, Samson. Would you like that? I'm only jesting, of course. But you can have it. Jailer.
Yes, my lord.
See that Samson is given whatever food he wishes. And wine. Royal wine.
Fill it up again, jailer. And fill your own cup, too. I permit it. Dogs. False dogs. Friend Samson. Go. They speak thus to me, a judge of Israel. Do you know why they need me now? Are they waging a new war against the Egyptians or against Sidon? Perhaps even planning new attacks upon Judea. Jailer, did you see Delilah? Is she still beautiful? Tell me how she was dressed. Did she wear a silk mantle?
The color of a precious gem.
She wore earrings and a necklace and bracelets and a belt of woven gold. And her odor was the same as long ago. The odor of a Phoenician vessel laden with perfume. How good that music is. What can it be?
The festival is beginning.
Delilah, are you waiting for me? The houses are white in the moonlight. Why is it so still here? Why is no wind blowing? Where are the stars? Light a torch, jailer.
The torch is burning. Don't be foolish.
Then why is it dark? I want to see. Where's the light? Where is the end of darkness? I shall seize it and tear it apart. But it has no end. And I cannot see anything.
Samson, are you down there? Wake up, Samson. I come from Judea. Get up.
Are you tired, you dog? Did you work hard today for the Philistine slave?
Begone, you owl. I want to sleep.
Ah, the judge of Israel speaks.
I'm sick of your tears and your curses. Go howl with the jackals and leave me alone.
How happy I should be to forget you, slaves. Oh, what is Israel to do? What are the people of God to do?
Your song is out of tune, Nightbird. Coward, you betrayed me. When I fell by treachery, who of your Judeans came to deliver me?
Where were we to get the power which is all yours? You led Israel, traitor.
I despise you, weaklings. Backsliding generation. You bow down to tyranny because it is strong. I'm sick of you. Go bend your necks under the heels of the Philistines.
Your strength was from God, Samson, for the salvation of Israel. And you gave away God's strength to the women of Ashkelon, to the dancers of Gaza. You have bartered it on perfumed couches. You have sold yourself like a sheep, O chosen one.
Who chose me? I did not ask for it.
Be silent in your dishonor. Be cursed, you sensualist, you parasite, slave of the Philistines.
No, this is the speech of Judea. Go back then and tell your beggarly Israel that soon I will return to power, and I will hurl down their huts, trample their children underfoot, and throw their women to the Philistines. I will be a huge serpent in their land, and I will devour them. Do you hear, you miserable night bird?
Do you mean it? You would harm your own people. What answer will you make to God? Samson, speak. I am returning home. What shall I say to the grave of your father, Manoah? What shall I tell your mother who is sick and nearing her end? Do you hear me? Are you alive? God of Israel, I'm seized with terror. Is this the darkness of death about me? Samson! Oh, it is horrible. I cannot stay here any longer.
What are you seeing him, Galia? A dirty, wretched slave, blind and maddened by his blindness.
You do not understand, Adoram. I shall get his power, my friend. It was I who blinded him. I shall have his whirlwind power. In my hands, Samson shall be a hammer to crush every enemy, subdue the rebel Judeans forever. What a throne I shall forge for our God, Dagon.
You're mad, Delio.
Was it not I who blinded Samson? Think of what that means. Was I who drove the lightning of fire from his eyes, the lightning of his terrible God.
Mistress Delilah, they have brought the Judean slave, Samson. He is waiting.
He is not a slave, but a noble prince. Remember that girl. Ask him to enter.
Yes, mistress.
This time, Galio, make sure you do not disturb us.
I will stand in the corner. He will not know.
Delilah! Delilah, where are you?
There used to be a couch here on the right. Yes, this is it. And the ivory stool. I have come back. Delilah!
Give me your hand, Samson.
Delilah.
Why do you tremble?
Is it really you, Delilah? Are we alone?
Yes, my love.
Tell me. Am I wearing golden robes?
Yes. How did you know?
I see with my fingers. Your hand is white. And your arm. I know, don't I?
I love you, Samson.
You're crying. You never cried before.
I have learned to cry.
Don't cry. I love the Philistine women because they never cry. Crying is for the Judeans.
I'm not a good Philistine woman, Samson. I love you. And loving you, I cry. Samson, why did you deceive me?
I? When?
Why did you not tell me you were a prophet?
I am not a prophet. My mistress Delilah, if you expected a prophet, send me back to the grindstones.
Tell me about your God, Samson.
Someone is standing here listening.
No, my beloved. Tell me about your God. He's terrible in his strength, is he not?
It is Galiel who speaks through you.
No.
Why then do you ask about God?
Before only Samson was laboring for the Philistines. Now you want the Lord of hosts himself to turn their grindstones. How sly you are.
My beloved, I want to know your God so that I may know you better.
I will tell you about our Lord. But if someone else is here, let him go. For what I say will not benefit him. God is great and terrible in his justice. What he wishes will be accomplished whether through me or through others.
Is he stronger and higher than Dagon?
Yes.
And does he visit you, Samson?
My strength is from the Lord. What do they think, Gael and his friends? Do they think my power is very great?
They do not know.
They do not know. That is funny. I, too, do not know. It is good to be a wind in the wilderness, but the outcome of the battle lies with the Lord. Do you hear that, Galil?
Isn't it a perfect day for a drive, Samson? And it is well that the people should grow accustomed to seeing you. Galil has convinced the king that you should command his legions against Egypt. There remains but one obstacle. The priests of Dagon are opposed to it. They resent the prestige you would bring to your God. Fools! They've contrived a test for you, and Galil has been forced to agree. You're to bring an offering to Dagon public at his festival tomorrow. They want you to kneel before their idol as a slave and admit that he's conquered you. That will prove to the people that Dagon is mightier than the God of Israel. Of course, the priests expect you to refuse. Then they can attack your loyalty. You smile. You do not seem to mind this arrangement. Yes, why not kneel to Dagon? Did you know there's a crack in his left side?
Lead me, Miriam. Why do you stop?
Oh, it is so magnificent here. I feel afraid. Are you sure, my poor blind Melchior, that my son Samson really lives in this palace? Won't they drive us out?
Mother of Samson, are you afraid of your son?
Someone is coming through the curtain. Samson! Oh, his eyes! Oh.
Greetings to you, Samson, from Israel.
Who is crying there beside you, blind woman?
An old woman who led me along the road. I am blind like you, Nazarite.
Do not call me Nazarite. Tell her to stop crying. I hate tears. Be silent, old woman. Now speak quickly. Why did you come here?
It is said in Judea that you have surrendered to the Philistines and that you want to bring an offering to their idol. Is that true?
True, I want it so. What do I care what their gods are? I am my own will.
Have pity on your people, Samson. The spirit of darkness himself would cry out at seeing our suffering.
Cry for yourselves. I have no eyes and no tears for you.
Traitor, do you know for whom I have given my eyes?
Do not tell me.
Whom did I love? And for whom was I waiting? But did not you, Samson? Do you remember the eyes of Melchior?
Melchior, the daughter of Jesse. Girl, what have you done to yourself?
Return to your people, O judge of Israel. They're waiting for you as for rain. Save the land that is orphaned.
How long have you been blind?
Since the day on which you were blinded. I said, if my eyes see the light, I will forget Samson and his vow to God. And if not I, who will remind it? In me the darkness shall have a voice.
How terrible is your love.
Return our children when our lion, our guardian. Have fear of the only God. Leave the idols of the Philistines. Leave Delilah.
No, your love is a snare. I do not want it. Too long have I listened to you. Go to your people and tell them loudly, Samson follows his own will. Tell them that that I have forgotten the ground where my father lies buried.
Oh, Samson, do not stand against your father's grave.
Mother. Mother, how could you walk so far with your old tired feet through the wilderness where beasts could have attacked you? Mother, you are standing while I have been sitting and exalting myself. Here, sit down.
Oh, do not move, my son. Oh, can you not see anything?
Nothing. Put your arms about my neck, Mother.
Oh.
I am so weary. My soul is black with death, and I cannot leave Israel.
When I saw how well you were living, I rejoiced.
Do not rejoice in his evil prosperity. Remember what the people commanded
Be
you.
silent.
Pity Samson. The elders have said Samson has armed himself against us. Go and implore him. And if he pays no heed, curse him as a traitor.
Curse him, Miriam, if he will not return. It is commanded.
Who dares command except God?
Curse him, Miriam. You vowed him to the God of Israel, and he has broken the vow. Curse him.
I cannot.
What will you say to God? What will you say to your husband Manoah when you come to him?
Do not call upon Manoah. No, I cannot curse my son. No. No, come away, Melchior. Give me your hand. Come.
Mother. Mother. God is pressing me. He is shaking me at the roots like a fruit-bearing tree. Whither am I running away from you?
Yet, shaken as he was by the call of Israel, Samson allowed himself to be led to the festival of Dagon in accordance with Gamaliel's plan. He was to be shamed and humbled for the greater glory of the idol of the Philistines. And yet he went, hardly knowing why. It was to be a great day for the Philistines, for their terrible foe had been delivered into their hands, and now they could make sport of him in his blindness. There he came, tall as a cedar in the robes of a nobleman, his hair falling over his shoulders as of old, but manacled as a slave, and his eyes burnt out, clutching the hands of Gamaliel like a helpless infant.
There is Samson!
Samson, today you must reveal yourself to them in your power. Is your God with you? Why are you smiling? Call on your God. Let the priests and the people have their way today. Tomorrow we shall command. I swear by your God.
Samson, the slave of all merciful king, the Judean son of Manoah, former judge of godless Israel, desires to bend the knee before the power of Almighty Dagon. Lead him to the platform between the two pillars. Kneel, Samson. Glory and power to Dagon. Glory to the firstborn Father of gods and of men. Glory to the command of the infernal regions, the God of evil, the ruler of despair and death. Glory to the 7 demons of the abyss. They are devastating whirlwinds. They know no mercy. They show no pity. Oh, spirits of the earth, to thee I call. Oh, spirits of the earth, to thee I call. Now rise, Samson. Bow to the king.
Where is he?
Samson, son of Manoah, has bent his knee to beg forgiveness for the evil he has committed. The blood he has shed is on his head and on his people. Gamaliel, servant of the king, fill the cup of humiliation for the slave Samson, prince of Israel, and smite his feet with your right hand. Smite him.
No, this is not necessary.
I command you. Smite him.
I cannot. No. Samson, my friend, will you permit me? We must satisfy them. Look, it's but a touch.
Glory and power to Dagon, to the master of evil and darkness, the rulers of the infernal who wishes to speak to Dagon, to the king and the people. Speak, Samson.
I did not expect this, Galiel.
Samson, please, speak. Give them a sign. Samson, don't you hear me? Samson wants to come over me.
Look! He's stepping between the columns. He's going to...
Silence! You Philistine slaves, be still. Listen to my words. Hear me, multitude. Hearken, heaven and earth. I am the sword of the Lord of hosts. I am the rod of the wrath of God. God said, I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Stop him! This is the lightning of Steiner! Adonai! Delilah! Save yourself! God of Israel, thy will is inexorable, but I am unworthy to be thy vessel. Who am I? A man full of squalor and shame, a lover of evening songs and of lust. Are thy prophets like that? A blind man on the highways, how can I guide thy people? What shall I do with thy strength? I am unworthy to lead Israel. Then die my soul with the Philistines!
Our script today by Harold Rosenberg was an adaptation of Leonid Andreev's biblical tragedy, Samson in Chains, translated by Herman Bernstein. The part of Samson was played by Kermit Murdoch, Delilah by Ann Seymour, Galiel by Santos Ortega, and The Blind Girl by Mitzi Gould. The music was composed by Morris Mamorsky and conducted by Milton Caden. Cantor David Putterman was the soloist, and the entire production was under the direction of Walter McGraw. Free time has been given by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations to present this program in cooperation with the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.